Yes, UK, France, Australia, and some other countries, they've decided to recognize Palestinian state. And when the news got to Benjamin Netanyahu, he was so angry, he was so infuriated, and he said, look, you are just giving positive kudos, so to speak, to terrorism. You are backing up terrorism by declaring that you want to stand for a Palestinian state. What are the implications? Do you think this will go down too well with Israel? Well, with me here in the city to talk about this, I have a legal practitioner, public affairs commentator, join me to welcome Barrister Henry Wanzo. Barrister, welcome to International Forum.
Wisdom, it's a pleasure being here again. Viewers at home, once again, you are welcome.
All right, when it comes to him, he's a lecturer. I call him the prof because when he starts analyzing, you get to realize you can just add 2-on-2 sequence from history to the present day for you to really get a clear picture. Join me to welcome prof. To me, he's a prof. Yes, Felix Osareme, welcome to International Forum.
Good afternoon, viewers at home. We say good afternoon for having me in the program. Thank you very much for watching.
All right, and of course, all the way from France, yes, it's Shem. Orishete Shem. It's a pleasure to have you join us this afternoon on International Forum.
Good afternoon, Wilson, and good afternoon, viewers at home.
All right. Well, if you don't know, Shem is a writer, been going through his blog, but it seems to be pro-Israel. So I want to start off with Shem for that good reason. For the reason, so Shem, you tell me right now, what do you feel about the UK, Canada, France, they want to recognize the Palestinian state? Yes, because I've been reading through your write-ups, reading through everything you've been posting online. I was like, come on, Shem, you have to say something about this. What do you feel about this development?
Well, thank you very much. We are in a very, very dramatic, season, political season, globally, because the effects of these will be felt around the world. The Middle East is a place we need to focus our eyes on now because of this recognition of the state of Palestine. But I also want to let us understand that there are also other opposition figures in some of these nations. For example, in France, we have Marine Le Pen. She's a far-right opposition figure who also opposes, the decision of the president to recognize a Palestine state. And also, if you go also to Australia, we have the opposition figure there, Madam Susan also, who also opposes, and the reason for this is because they wanted a situation whereby the peace agreement will come to a conclusion, and then if you are declaring a state to be done, with agreement with all, the broader house, but whereby some people are in agreement and some people are not in agreement. I really don't think. I don't know how long it will stand, because some of these nations, by the time a new government comes in, they can rewrite or change the decision. So I really don't understand if the people of these nations are in support of their president, because there was no referendum. I don't know if it was done out of fear. So we are going to watch, sit back and see what comes up in the next few weeks, because Israel has not really responded. Sunday was a Jewish holiday. They just finished a Jewish holiday, and they couldn't do anything because they don't really have much activities. They can't speak, they can't do anything on the Jewish holiday when other nations recognize the Palestine. So let's wait for the outcome of Israel and America, and let's see what happens.
All right, I'll come back to you, Shem. Let me come to our legal practitioner before we go to a class in this particular instance. Well, Benjamin, when he got a whiff of this, he said, if you guys should do that, that means you are giving kudos to terrorism.
Well, you see, the truth still remains that those who are mooting the idea, as it were, are looking at the circumstance surrounding all the activities that are going on within that region. Fighting Hamas has been on, and Israel on its part have gone too far, because a lot of innocent children, men and women are dying every day due to the pummeling in that region, as it were. But again, you also look at it from the angle that Israel is seeing it as if they are supporting terrorism. To me, it is not completely true, because they are looking for a solution. What will be the solution? Some are saying a two-state solution. That is what they are looking at. That, according to the France president, he said that would bring a kind of peace within that region, as it were. Even the ambassador to the United Nations also equally looked at it from that angle, that if at the end of the day there is the state of Palestine and there is the Israelis on the other side, that there will be peace. But Israel is looking at from the angle that where will be the capital be? That the capital of the Palestinian, as it were, because they are equally looking at it from the angle that it is in their own area, as it were, at the far east, as it were. So to me, it is going to be a very difficult situation, finding a meeting point where these parties will sit down and look at it objectively. I know at the end of the day accepted that France, Saudi Arabia, even Belgium gave condition in, that first of all, Hamas need to be removed completely, that the Palestinian prime minister should be able to give that there are going to be election in a short time, and the Hamas government doesn't need to come in. But again, you find out that these Hamas are people who, notwithstanding all pressures have been put, trying to stop them from committing their crime, they continually do it. It's a difficult thing, just like as we are in Nigeria. The issue of banditry, the issue of kidnapping and others, is going to be very difficult, because while you are making moves to ensure that people live in peace, there are some persons who either directly or indirectly are benefiting. They will not allow that war, as it were, to come to an end, because they will sell arms, they will make money, coupled with the fact that you find in the international politics there have been to be alliance here and there. But Israel and US on their part are saying that the Palestinian state will not come to hold.
All right. Some are saying that Palestinian states have been on for for a very long time now. That the view that it might just be a pathway to peace. While others are saying it will be a recipe for disaster, because if that state is declared and recognized, Israel will not know peace. Prof, what do you say about this notion?
This challenge has been on since 1948 as a fallout of the Holocaust in the Second World War that took place from 1939 to 1945. The activities of Adolf Hitler, the Führer of Germany, so that time under the Third Reich, proposed what he called the final solution to the Jewish problem, which was annihilation of the majority of the Jews. So estimates range from between 6 to 8 to 10 million Jews that were annihilated. And this shocked the conscience of the world. So there was this move called Zionism. Actually, it was started by Theodor Herzl. And it is the political part of the Jewish concept of the return to their homeland. And the place they recognized as their dispersal point was Palestine. But we can also remember that this has historical and biblical roots. But if we follow the Bible, they've left that place before they came to Egypt. They were eventually enslaved in Egypt for almost
400 years.
Centuries. And eventually, a savior came in the person of Moses and his brother Aaron, who led them to what they now called the Promised Land. Later, they fell to hard times, and there was the concept of diaspora, the disperser. You know the Bible story of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Chaldea, that took the Israelites away. Even the song has been made by the rivers of Babylon. So the Israelis have faced this situation for centuries. Now, what is different is that in different parts of Europe where they settled, but we now have two stock of Jews. The one common one was the Ashkenazi Jews. And they developed in a particular way. Anywhere they find themselves, they are very creative in business, in any industry. They were mostly into inventions and finance. So, people who harbored them in communities initially were receptive, then envy will come in, and subsequently it will grow to the point of ethnic hatred that will now manifest into pogroms. In fact, the Jews were continuously attacked in different parts, be it Russia, Poland. So in the case of Germany was not new. The terms of attack on the Jews. What was different in between 1935 and 1949 was that this was now a state-sponsored activity concentrated in such a way that they were hunted and exterminated. And many of them survived. So the survivor was what sparked that desire to return to their homeland. And that return to the homeland is the bane of the people that were living in that place when they returned. Because the British were occupying that place as a mandate territory right from the time of the First World War. After the First World War ended in 1918, areas were now called mandate territories.
Mandate territories.
Yes,
Okay.
mandate. That means they were under somebody's care. So the British were given that consideration. Then there was no United Nations. It was League of Nations. By the time the Second World War ended in 1945, the existing structure of the League of Nations were absorbed into the newly created United Nations organization. So the UNO is the body that now worked hand in hand with the British to now convert that mandate territory into a homeland for the returnees. And it was a form of colonial engagement because the Jews did not just come there and take the land by force. There was an understanding. Okay, come, you can buy some portion will be given to you. And this was already, as at that time, occupied by Palestinians. So the Palestinians were receptive at the initial stage. But when they realized that the objective was to now give these people full-scale occupation of the land, the Palestinians rejected it. That was the beginning of this conflict. And it's from then, the Palestinians have never looked back. They've argued that the state of Israel should not exist. This is the challenge. The Palestinians said the state of Israel would not exist. Meanwhile, the United Nations proposition that came up in 1948 was that there should be two states in the territory. One would be the Palestinian state, the other one would be the Israeli state. The state of Israel went ahead, accepted and proclaimed. In fact, even in the voting system, I think 13 states approved, 10 states, no, okay. Let me try and get the figure again. But some states abstained. That's 13
yes.
declined. 13 voted against, majority voted for. There were not many. It was just about 30 or 40 states that were to vote at that time, or 44 thereabout. So in the vote, it was clear that the majority wanted the state of Israel to be created. And the Israelis accepted that proposition. And the Palestinians refused. So that has been
the issue.
The issue.
All right. So you just hold on now, Prof.
So let me quickly make one more point. The Israelis now went ahead and declared their state.
The states. You just hold on. We'll be right back after this break to continue with the discussion, because some are saying it's a pathway to peace. Others are saying no, it's a recipe for disaster. We'll be right back. Don't go away. All right. Now, Prof. Felix just took us through history, how it all started when they talked about the proposal about two-state. Palestinians said no. Israel says, okay, fine, we are in for it. But as it stands right now, Benjamin is not in for it. He's saying if you should accept it right now, you're saying what Hamas did on 7th of October, they should have done more. Well, let me get straight down to France, where Shem is standing by. Shem, now what do you feel that is behind Benjamin's rejection of a Palestinian state? Remember, it's been on, like what Prof said, since the 1940s.
Yes, thank you very much. Prof didn't add the other areas where God gave the promise to Abraham and to Moses and showed Moses from the Mount the Mount Hermon where the IDF forces are now. How he showed Moses the land and say all this land belongs to you and your people. But let's put that aside now. Wilson, I want to ask you a very simple question. Will you give your apartment that is vacant next door apartment to somebody who wants to kill you and destroy you and your entire family?
Good question, but go ahead with the point you're making.
Yes, because no, I asked this question because you just asked why Netanyahu will not agree. He will not agree because in 2007 he tried it. He tried to see if he could, if the Jews can live, peacefully with the Palestinians. He gave them Gaza to control. In fact, since 2007 till what just happened in 2003, 7th of October 2003, for nearly, for that 15 years, Hamas controlled Gaza. But, the Jews, the Israelis understood that, within this period, they were not really building infrastructure. They were not building good schools. They were not building technology. They were not so rather they were focusing on they were building terror, building ammunition, storing weapons to attack Israel. So this is where the problem is. So Israel is now saying, if we have tried it before and it failed and they attacked us, why should we do it again and give them a state to control? So this is where the issue is. Israel does not trust, their security is not guaranteed because they've tried it in the past and it didn't work. They were attacked. So this is the area people need to understand. And I'm so happy for Prof who has to take us back to history, because I was just talking with a young boy, who was protesting, who was pro-Palestinian. I just asked him a question. I said, "How old are you?" He said he's 17 years old. So I said, "Why did you join this?" And he was telling me. And then I asked him a few questions. Do you know what happened in so that? He said he doesn't know. So a lot of young people, a lot of people are just coming. They need to go back to history to see the facts. Because if you see the Palestinians is a homogeneous community. It doesn't really have a structure that you can hold on to say, okay, this is their capital, this is the prime minister, these are the secretaries. Who are you going to hold? Who are in charge of? How is it going to be run? So these are some of the issues that need to be in place before they cannot go ahead and say, you are recognizing a state. You are recognizing a state. How is the state going to function? Because as a homogeneous community, they are spread all over the world. Now Palestinians are in Europe, they are in Syria, but the majority of them are in Jordan, in Gaza, and in Israel as well,
West Bank.
and Syria. So they are scattered all over the world. So how do you structure them together under one body? So this is where, and when you also add them with Hamas has been designated as a terrorist organization, and Hamas leads this group called the Palestinian. So it's a difficult something to really fix, because it's complicated. Because you cannot hand over you cannot hand over a state to a group that is designated a terrorist group. So how do you now?
You heard what Shem said. You heard what Shem said. He said you cannot give your sitting room to someone that is going to harm you. That Israel tried it at first, they were attacked. That's what Benjamin is saying. It won't happen under Israel. After all, they don't have this kind of a stable government in Palestine. So what do you say about this?
Well, I quite appreciate his position, and that is a fact too, coming from the angle of Benjamin Netanyahu. But again, you ask yourself the question, if they are proposing a state, modalities must be put in place. Parties need to sit down and look at it objectively and find a meeting point where these people cannot continue with their dastardly act. Belgium has given condition that Hamas need to be removed completely.
Yeah.
That is their condition. And I believe also that some other states who are supporting now, most of them who are supporting the creation of Palestinian state, it's because of the pummeling of Gaza and the activities of Israel in that place. They're looking at it from the angle that a lot of innocent persons have died, all in the name that Israel is fighting against Hamas. So I believe that is why some of the states who before now have not indicated interest have not said, okay, we want to recognize it. But again, recognition on their part does not make it automatic that Palestine has become a state of, to be recognized by the United Nations in terms of a sovereign nation, as it were. Though since November 2012, they have been a non-member, as it were. But that does not end at that point. So to me, Benjamin Netanyahu, he has a very solid argument because it has been tried in the past and these same persons, remain. But I also believe that because of the Hamas, because if they can give an assurance that Hamas completely will be removed, that the activities will no longer be as deadly as it has been, I know of a truth that at the end of the day, the parties can sit down and move. But again, Benjamin Netanyahu will not allow, because he is a hard, how do I look at it? Whatever he believes in his fight, he will continue with it. Because when you talk about Benjamin Netanyahu, when we were growing up as children, even I know he was prime minister in Israel.
Yes.
Then, as it were, maybe he was younger. And now that he's older and more desperate in retaining that same thing.
Is it desperation or experience?
Okay. You might also say that it is out of experience, because he has held that position at several times. And issues of settlement, issues of negotiation, issues of they allowing the state of Palestine to be created has always been at the front burner. But let's give them the opportunity if this will bring a lasting peace in the Middle East, because Macron has equally said it. The ambassador to United Nations has equally looked at it from now, and a lot of the countries who are supporting now are looking at it that is the only way peace can come in the Middle East. Where you have a two states, you have the Israel, and then you have the Palestinian. So, but let's see if the Israelis are going to accede to that. Just as Mr. Shem said, he said on Sunday was just their day, and today is Tuesday, as it were.
Yes.
So maybe before the end of this week, we'll be able to know what their reactions will be in respect of it. But to me, once there is peace in the Middle East, I know definitely whatever has been happening there will come to an end.
All right. There's a factor to consider, Prof. The Hamas factor. Like what Shem said, he said when he asked that young man questions, say he doesn't know, he's just showing them carrying flag to say death to Israel, give us our own state and all that, without going down to history. From what said, he said Benjamin have tried it before. It did not favor Israel. They're about like saying, had it be that they didn't give Hamas, or well, I say the Palestinians, some kind of leverage, they will have the time to dig those tunnels, to get missiles, to get them equipped, and to carry out what they carried out on October 7th. That was the genesis of this bombardment of that particular region. The two-state system. They don't think that Benjamin is saying what the world isn't saying, or the world is saying what Benjamin is not saying.
Interestingly, we are talking around the subject. I explained earlier on that in 1945, when some of these issues started, it didn't actually start in 45 anyway, but when it became exposed to the world that the Jews were almost totally annihilated by Germany, and the conscience of the world was in their favor, they were giving space in Palestine. And most of them trace their historical roots to that same land. Even the Palestinians that are talking now, they've been there. Israelis have also been there. People were removed. Land is always in dispute because some people want to make claim to specific areas, not because of the land itself. Now let's get to the polemics. What is a state? A state is defined as a territory that has fixed borders that has population, that has governance, that it can create a structure to administer itself, then it has sovereignty. And we'll go further to say that it has recognition. The Palestinian states were not denied all these things. The Palestinian state was giving all these things in 1948. Israel was given, Palestine was given. Palestine rejected that one and said Israel will not exist. That is the contention. It's not whether the state of Palestine has already been known. It has been given. The space is there. It is known. West Bank and Gaza for Palestine. The other part for Israel. The critical point was that Jerusalem was to be considered as an international capital. It was not to be given to either the Palestinians or to the Israelis, because both of them are laying claim to Jerusalem. That's why East Jerusalem was to be given to Israel. All right. The United Nations resolution was that Jerusalem should be internationalized, should not be given to anyone. That's why Tel Aviv has been the capital of Israel.
Until Trump came to the picture.
It's not Trump that did that. They are going back to historical roots now to say, we actually started this, we actually did that. Everybody is tracing back to history. So let us understand the historical antecedents of the groups. The Arabs that are in Palestine now, they also migrant to that territory. Palestine was not Arabian territory. There were other ethnic groups, the Hittites, the Shulamites, the Sumerians, different groups that were there from biblical times to history. But the Arab imperialism with the spread of Islam gave them greater edge. That's why western part of Jerusalem and eastern part of Jerusalem was now considered as part of Palestinian territory. In fact, we can go back to the Crusades, where Muslims took over the Holy Land and Christians had to form fighting units to come from Europe under the inspiration of the Pope, that rather than fight wars with European kings, go and test your strength in Palestine. That was what led to people calling themselves defenders of the faith, the Knights.
The Knights.
And the different groups in the Knights, the Knights of Malta, the Knights Templar, and the rest. They were all now fighting in the Holy Land. To free the Holy Land from who? From the Muslims, who took the place as a conquered territory. So this, if we keep going back to history, we will now find that originally people were always in that space. But it has always been established too, historically, that the victors are the ones that write history. So who won the war would determine how the land will be managed. In 1948, Israel did not disagree. Israel agreed for the two-state solution.
But right now they are disagreeing.
It will not even solve the problem. They will still go back to two-state solution. Okay, let's go for what we call hypothetics. You are fighting in Gaza and you are fighting in West Bank. Are you going to eliminate everybody and claim the land? No. You are simply saying you don't have a guarantee for your security. What is your guarantee for security? Even if you remove Hamas, new groups can come up. So what they should have been looking at is a manageable condition. And this is where the Palestinians have always missed the argument. They focus all these years on the rhetoric that Israel will not exist. So Israel is now saying, okay, since you have always been saying we won't exist, you will not exist at all. That is where we need to now go back to the two-state solution, which is looking at the fact that if these two states have, because the final issue will be agreed upon between the two states.
Two states, all right. We want to take another break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. So much for staying tuned. We just joined us. This is International Forum, taking a look at what is really going on between Israel, Hamas, and of course UK trying to pitch to the Palestinians, and of course France and the likes. The people is saying this will not work. Let's go back to France, where Shem is standing by. Shem, are you now saying that the two-state solution should be abolished? If your answer is yes, what then happened to the Palestinians?
Thank you very much, Wilson. You see, we need to be very, very honest, and then we need to be frank in our quest for peace. You know, it's very difficult to make peace with somebody who just doesn't want peace. The two-state solution is a good idea. It is a really good idea. But the problem is the other side, the Palestinians, I don't know if they really want the two-state solution or they want all of the land. That's one. Two, you cannot be negotiating of a two-state where you have my civilians held captives as hostage. You kidnap people, people are there that are kidnapped. I think what we should be looking at now is how to free all the hostages. Let the hostages be, because these hostages, they are not soldiers, they are civilians. So what is their offense now? You can't just go to people's house, kidnap them, and keep them and say you are fighting to get the state, and I mean to have your own state and you get supported. But because that on its own, it's criminal. So if you are asking for a two-state, you have to come with clean hands and with sincerity of purpose. So the problem here is the sincerity is not really there, because Israel believes. So now Israel is a very small nation. Okay, it's one of the smallest, if not the smallest nation in the Middle East. And Israel is the only Jewish state in the world. We have several Muslim nations with big expanse of land. Syria is bigger than Israel. All other countries around, they are bigger. Okay, if land is a problem, can't these nations come together and say, okay, we are giving this land to Palestine and let there be peace? Because Israel is saying they cannot share their little, the little space they have with people that they don't trust. I mean, people who attack them on a daily basis. We just saw there was a knife. Was it a knife attack or a gunshot attack a few weeks ago, or a few weeks ago? I think about six Jews were killed in Israel, and then the Hamas came later to say they were behind the attack. So how do you now coexist with such people in a two-state sharing border with this kind of? This is the problem. So I think for us, before we talk about two states, let the hostages be free. Then let there be a mutual agreement of peace, and then before we can start talking about two states. This is my my thoughts on this.
Thank you so much. Well, let's come to your last line because our time is up. Just like what Prof said, I just going around the same thing, but Hamas is saying something from one angle, and but we see another from another angle. Now, how can we come to a compromise?
Just as you rightly said,
yes,
the two-state solution is a good idea, but the question there is Hamas ready to obey the conditions that will bring peace and a lasting peace, not a temporary peace, but a lasting peace in that region. That is the issue. It's not as if Benjamin Netanyahu, he has tested it before now, he have tried it, and it never worked. The same persons will wake up and decide to do. Just as Sheikh rightly said, if they release the hostages, do the needful as demanded, all these issues, they will know actually they want settlement. They want this issue to be addressed. But now they are still keeping the hostages. They are still going ahead to attack Israelis, killing them even in Israel land. So that shows that actually, if they are given the opportunity for a state, just as my brother rightly said, the state has been there, though they denied taking it at that point in time because they were asking for the whole land, which is not possible because the Israelis have been able to trace their route that we are from this part of the world. That is where our ancestors came from. And then you are now saying, for the fact that they are there, that no, that the land equally belongs to you. So that is the issue. So, but if the Palestinians are ready for settlement, as it were, Hamas must be removed completely. If Hamas is not removed completely, there will be no peace in that region.
All right, thank you so much. That's our last line on this discussion. Prof, what do you think is last discussion? Because right now, Hamas is not bulging. They are still fighting, coming to give some hit and run attack and all that. What should be the stand? And moreover, if France, UK should say yes to the two-state solution, do you think that Israel will have no peace?
Well, I think, well, I'm not thinking, I'm stating categorically that this is already a given. Israel and the Palestinian states were to coexist from 1948. They have been agreed upon. What has happened that during the skirmishes over time, Israel has been taking more of Palestinian land and adding to their own as punishment for attacks. Israel has shown good faith sometimes by saying, okay, we are ready to negotiate. The Palestinians were not ready to negotiate. And let me take you back outside discussion a bit.
I'm writing
off. Yes. Samuel P. Otitin wrote the book, The clash of civilizations. And they said that the future war will not be war over resources alone, it will be war of
Ideologies.
And this is an ideological problem. So it's not a political challenge, it's an ideological challenge.
All right.
In as much as the Palestinians hold that ideology that Israel will not exist, this matter cannot be resolved.
All right.
But the Palestinians can be asked to have a rethink and step back from that position that has put them against Israel. Israelis are willing. It is the guarantees that they do not have. And once those guarantees are given, it doesn't have to be Hamas. PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, has now turned to Palestinian Leadership Authority, which is now PLA.
All right.
But even before the recognition of 21st of September 2025 now by UK, Canada, and Australia, as it was just being announced, the first thing that came out from Mahmoud Abbas was that they should be given reparations. He's already asking, demanding compensation.
Thank you.
For billions of dollars. So
Thank you.
He has not even been able to put his foot down. He's throwing stones.
Thank you.
That is the challenge. So they should.
We will continue with the discussion, not to worry, some other time. Well, let's see how all this will pan out. We are watching. Definitely we'll report back to you. This some other time next week, Tuesday, God willing. Bye for now.